Hello and welcome to Astro Lunatic's Guide to the Universe. Sin, aka Astro Lunatic, and you are here with me on my Sunday show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you're having a great day. I hope everyone had a great week, and we've got a lot in store in the astro world coming up for the rest of this week. We've got some pretty big shifts, and by that I mean a change of the moon phase. We have Mercury going direct. Yippee! Venus making some pretty cool aspects. What else do we have going on? Mars is still in Libra, not really aspecting too many things that I can see off of the rip, but the tension is building and it's getting pretty interesting. Not gonna lie, it's getting pretty interesting. So, what have I been up to? Well, I'm still trying to get a handle on my technology. I have a program now that I think is going to work for me on my Mac uh, as far as streaming so that I can uh, do some more cool stuff with the audio. Like I have been telling everyone, I'm going to be taking calls and kicking ass and taking names. And I can do it, but not the way I want to. It's not perfect yet. And I'm obsessing over that with my Virgo stellium. Gah! Curse you, Virgo. Why do you have to make me obsess about being perfect? But it has to be perfect. I've always been that way. My mother said when I was learning to speak as a wee little astro lunatic, I didn't want to say anything until I could pronounce it perfectly. I've since gotten over that and I've realized it doesn't have to be perfect. I'll always find something wrong with it. I just have to go ahead and do it. That's all. So that's that's been my Mercury retrograde process, obsessing over perfecting my art and my craft. So I need to be able to run the audio, the incoming caller audio, and I'd like to be able to play a theme. I have a theme. I have a theme song, an intro. I have my intro music. So I haven't been able to do that. So whatever. Been kind of bummed about it. But it'll all come together and I know how things go during a Mercury retrograde. And so, we've been dealing with that. Plus Venus retrograde. That's all of that creative stuff and wanting to make everything pretty and sound nice. So, them's been my struggles. The struggle is real. But I do like Mercury retrogrades for a few reasons. And I'm just going to chitter chatter until I get some people here in the chat room. Doesn't look like there's anyone watching the stream yet. Um, But before I go into that, let's do some station identification. Again, you are listening to Astro Lunatic's Guide to the Universe, the Sunday edition. This is like the Sunday edition of the newspaper, where you get all of the sections of the news and the weekly wrap up and the week ahead and the funnies. Hopefully. Usually I'm the only one laughing. Um, except for those who share my strange and warped sense of humor. Um, it's the Sunday edition. Sunday sauce, I'm calling it this week. Saucy Susan. Better than Lazy Susan. I've gotten that a lot. But it ain't true. Like, that is one thing that people cannot call me is lazy. Capricorn that I am. And what else? Hopefully, stay tuned. Calls to come, music to come. And what else? You never know. Lots of surprises. So, where can you find me? I am on the YouTube, as I am today, as I am streaming. I thought it would be fun one of these days to do an entire show in a foreign accent. Ah, shit. I do these things in my head to just, amuse myself, to make me laugh. So you can find me here, obviously, on YouTube. I am on Facebook. You can look up my Facebook page and Twitter, as well as Instagram. And a few other places like the obscure corners of the internet where people like me go to run and hide every time there's a lockdown on social media. Uh, so yeah, I don't know. That would be MeWe. I've got a thing over there. I've got a thing at Minds. Truth Social is the latest one. You know, that's me pissing on every corner of the universe on the internet to, piss on my territory and claim my astro lunatic profiles. So, uh, oh yeah, Rumble. I've got the Rumble channel, which if you know, you know. All of the truly saucy and controversial stuff will go over there. I already put one of my live streams up over there because I talked too much about the juice. I got too opinionated, and I was also talking about some health remedy stuff, which the very same day, YouTube put out its new um, terms of service and published a list of a new bullshit topics that we can't talk about. And I think I only talked about like half of one of those, but it's funny how I was so specific, and I don't usually talk about that kind of stuff. I mean, not that specific. I was talking about some natural health detox protocols, and apparently that protocol is verboten, but not within the context that I spoke about it. So I probably wouldn't have gotten a strike, but you know, I just put it up there anyway, tore it down. I'm like, took taking my toys from the sandbox and go play elsewhere. So I put that over up on Rumble. So if you haven't yet, go and subscribe. And I am hot on the heels of something that I've been doing for a long time, which is reading true crime charts, doing the astrology of certain cases in true crime um, popularity. So I'm about to make some videos about those particular cases. And um, if you were here for it, I did mention last week that I did an interview with Dave Cruz on Beyond the Strange. Go check it out. It's on his channel, Beyond the Strange, or go to beyondthestrange.com to find those links. But I discussed the chart of Elon Musk, and that was really quite enlightening because although I've looked at his chart before, I knew he was a Cancer. I knew that his North Node was in Aquarius. Um, but I didn't know, I had never really looked at his asteroids and the fixed stars. So we went quite deep into his archetypal story, his own mythology, which makes things a lot clearer. And it really made so much sense to me um, when I looked at some of the things that I find really interesting, like what is up with him and spreading his DNA all over the place. And yeah, I don't know, we talked about like twins and um like in vitro fertilization and those embryos and uh, baby farms. So go check that out. It's really interesting. I might just do like a mirror upload and put it on my channel. I'll just talk to Dave about that. Not because he wouldn't give permission, but because I don't know how the fuck to do it. So he could tell me how to do that. So yeah, so I'll start a playlist that'll be my true crime and celebrity Hollywood stars. So you don't want to miss that. That'll be up and coming. And I haven't decided if I'm going to put that here, if I'm going to put it on my Rumble channel, or, I mean, eventually I'm going to use my Patreon channel. Um, so yeah, go over there and bookmark my Patreon because I've been planning on doing maybe a series on the basics of astrology for those who want to learn, maybe something specific to asteroids and the fixed stars. We'll see. But I may put some really juicy content behind my Patreon subscriber wall. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Those are my plans, my long term plans. But anyway, so yeah, now that I've gotten all of that out of the way, I am going to share my screen. And this time I was a good girl and I set everything up with my Zoom so that I can share the screen because I forgot to do that this week. See, this is the Virgo, Mercury retrograde and Virgo routine stuff that is very helpful to get all set up. Let's see, can I make this bigger? Hang on. Hang on. How do I share here? Yes. Here we go. Share the screen. Screen. Where are you? Where are you? There you are. For those of you viewing on YouTube, my background there is a picture called Overflow of the Nile. A view from the pyramids looking towards Cairo. Some vintage artwork that I found that I thought was really cool. Like I could totally hang that on my wall. Anyway, I'm going to share my screen now. Meow. I want to share entire screen. And where is it? No, window. Yes. No, yes. Zoom. That's not working. Here we are in Mercury retrograde, just working out all the bugs. Let's see how I could do this differently. Anyway, that's one thing that Mercury, heavens to Mercury, is really good for, working out all the bugs. Do, 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 do. It's not letting me do it. I could fix it, but I can't do that right now. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. This is where music will come in handy. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Not working still. I know this is different than the way I usually do it. Why did I just not leave well enough alone in the first place? I wonder if that would drive everybody nuts. If I did I would slip out of it. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. If I did an entire show in a British accent, how would you feel about that? Let's take a poll. Do you want to hear me doing it? God darn it. I'm not sure why. All right, we're not going to do it. It's not going to happen today. Forget it. I give up. Rah. 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 That's kind of sucky. Hang on. Let me see if I could do it. It's a little bit sucky. This feeling inside. Oh, Lordy. Lordy, Lordy. Doesn't matter because no one's watching. Where are you people? Get your asses in here. Lynn, where are you? Maybe if I do the entire screen. I don't know. I don't usually do it that way. How do I usually do it? Maybe I have too many windows open. Go to system preferences. No, I don't want to leave the site. This might be a browser issue. I'm on Brave browser. This is telling me something about Chrome. All right, it ain't happening today. It's just not happening today. So it's all good. Eek. I might as well close that. I'm sorry, you can't see the screen. It's not happening today. Wait a minute. I just thought of something. One more try, and then I give up. One more try. One more try. Yeah, I think I usually do entire screen. It's not giving me that option though. Oh, 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 boop. No. Ugh, that's fucking bullshit. fucking bullshit, I'm telling you. All right, whatever. Ain't happening. It ain't happening. I'm going to close my Zoom. Hang it on, hang it on. All right. So here we are on September 10th. It's a Sunday. The moon is in Cancer. My mother is trying to shush the cat. Poor kitty. Kitty got a flea bath this week. Silly flea bag. I put some natural stuff on her and it works, but I didn't really keep up with it. And then next thing you know, she's got the fleasels. So she had the diatomaceous earth dust and then the bath. So that's funny. I was thinking about it today. Mercury retrograde in Virgo. Virgo rules pets. And I actually have Virgo. The sign of Virgo is in my sixth house. Sixth house and Virgo pets. The health of my pet and dealing with fleasels. Also, I'm getting a new pet. And I won't announce that until next week because I'm not ready to talk about it. But I have a new pet arriving this week and I'm super excited. One of these days, maybe I'll bring it out on camera. Who knows? We'll see. So, that's another thing during Mercury retrograde. People may have been dealing with pets. Issues with pets, going to the vet for a checkup, getting a new pet, losing a pet. I'm sorry for your loss if that's the case. But we're done with Mercury retrograde this week. So let's talk about the aspects. Getting into it. Today the moon is in Cancer, as I was saying. I think it was at like the last degree of Cancer. So right now, it's probably in Leo. Let's check it out. Where are we right now? That's not right. I have a feeling it's in Leo right now. It feels like Leo. Nope, not yet. Not yet. We're almost there. It's at the last degree, the last dregs of Cancer. And the moon has been opposite Pluto for the last few hours. So that can feel a little intense, a little heavy at times. Pluto is a very small planet, but it packs a big punch. It's also it's a slow and simmering planet. It's sort of hard to put your finger on in a sense because it is, oof, I don't know. I think of it as if it were a classical piece. I think of Phantom of the Opera. It's very low and mysterious and very, um, like horror theme, but like vintage movies, horror movies. That's the way I feel it. Anyway, so what could we have been dealing with? Well, Pluto is in the last few degrees of Capricorn. It's at about 28 degrees and it's retrograde, so it's going back over, but it takes a long time because it's very slow moving. It has to do with the Pluto return of our country, the United States. That's where our Pluto is. So it is power structures and the crumbling of said structures. So, it's last-ditched efforts of those who have had power for a long time. Capricorn is deeply entrenched power networks that come from centuries and probably thousands of years of um, being in the network of power. I mean, also it has to do with family lineages because it's Capricorn, and Capricorn represents the father. In the opposite sign of Cancer, we have the moon. So it is long-term and deeply entrenched patterns within the family, within society, between fathers, mothers, male and female. And, well, Pluto also is deep-seated fears. So we see people who are afraid of losing their power at last-ditched attempts to gain and keep their power. Any retrograde planet is very slow and it's also very close to Earth, so it's very strong. And so we see ourselves going back to some version of obsessive control, OCD, whether it's patterns in ourself or the fear that we went through during 2020 into 2022 when we had a lot of planets in Capricorn. So Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, which is father time. It's also aging, death. Well, Pluto also is death, but transformation. It's so many things. I mean, it's really deeply rooted in the subconscious and, like I said, generations. It's generational. Generational power, also dealing with generational curses. So that's the moon is opposite Pluto. It's really only, half the day, but the day starts out with a somber, heavy vibe. And really, Pluto is transformation. It's like the death card. It's transformation, it's death, but it's transforming to something else. So that's what we're kind of dealing with until the moon shifts into Leo, which, if I really thought about it, I probably would have started my show not on a void, of course, moon. So let's talk about that. So I already know the show for the first half hour isn't going to go anywhere until the moon shifts into Leo, where at what point I probably will get somebody in the chat room in about 10 minutes. So I'm just going to bullshit. The vibe shifts. So let's talk about the void of course moon. What is void of course? Void of course. When the moon goes void, it is the last aspect that the moon makes to a planet, any planet, major aspects, which is opposition, square, sextile, and trine. So that's the 120 degree, the 90 degree, the 60 degree, and the 120. Wait, did I say? I meant 180. That's the opposition. That's half the circle. So what happens is, and if you if you do your own experiment, I challenge you to do your own experiment. Observe anything. Watch a football game. Sit on a park bench and watch the people go by on a void of course moon. Nothing really happens because the moon is basically coasting on the last aspect that it made until it changes sign. And you see, this is how I know for sure that Western tropical astrology works. So maybe it works for the left brain, and Vedic works, Hindu astrology, Vedic works for the right brain, intuitive, or if you're in the East, I don't know. I'd have to do that kind of research, but I know for me, doing Western tropical, where the zodiac degrees basically are about 26 degrees apart. So if you want to know the difference between a planet in Western tropical versus Vedic astrology, take the Western tropical planet and subtract 26 degrees. Go backwards 26 degrees. It's 26 maybe and a half or something like that. But you know, that's why when you listen to a Vedic astrologer, when we have the sun at about 25, 26 degrees of any given sign, they're telling you that the sun just entered that sign because Western is 26 ahead. So if that didn't confuse you, you can absolutely notice a shift when the moon goes into the next sign. So the void of course moon is the time period and the degrees when the moon makes its last aspect to a planet before it goes into the next sign. So when we have planets in the earlier degrees of the signs, we're going to have long void of course moons. Okay. So right now we have well, Pluto is at 28 degrees of Capricorn. Neptune is at 27 degrees of Pisces. We have Uranus at 23 degrees of Taurus. Okay, so those are three of the major planets. Okay, those are the transpersonal planets. They move very slow. They define generations. They're not the personal planets. They're transpersonal. They describe what is happening on a societal level. That, you know, what's happening within the collective, within society for us, as a species, let's say. So, um, where was I going with this? Yeah, so when you have planets at the last degrees of the sign, um, you have shorter void of course time periods. And this can be really good if you understand timing and you know um, what's a good thing to do during the void of course moon. Nothing new, not the new thing. Um, I Here's a good example. Like if you call someone in the void of course moon, you're probably either not going to get them or it's I mean, in terms of like let's say business, whatever you agree on at that time period isn't really going to go anywhere fast, or it may change. Um, a general rule in astrology is if you need to do something that you're kind of scared to do and you really don't want it to amount to much, you do it during a void of course moon. If you want it to go unnoticed, do it during a void of course moon. Crimes committed during a void of course moon, they might be hard to prosecute, or the person, the cops are called and the person doesn't get arrested, or they get arrested and then they let go, and things just don't really have the momentum that they do when the moon is not a void of course. So I think it's a good thing to know if you have anything that's really of consequence that you need to know. Obviously, the aspects are going to be very important, the aspects of the moon to other planets. So, these are the things that when you're timing something, and I'm just going to keep bullshitting until the moon moves into Leo. Whoa! Where is it right now? I got like 2 minutes. 2 minutes of bullshit before it goes into Leo. So if you do this observation and do this little experiment for yourself, uh, watching a crowd is very interesting. It just seems like things just kind of hum along. There's not much going on. And then you'll see the mood start to shift. Um, you would see probably, people's moods change. And so the moon in Cancer is definitely a softer vibe. It's Cancer's kind of a self-protective sort of a sign. It's water, it's emotional, blah, blah, blah. But it's also, I'm looking at the star that the moon is on right now, star called Aludra, in the constellation Canis Major. The dog, the greater dog. So we have the greater dog and the lesser dog. I suppose I could read a little bit about Canis Major. 29 degrees of Cancer, where the moon is right now. And shortly after that, when the moon goes into Leo, then we have the moon contacting the star Talitha, which is in Ursa Major. So the first few degrees of Leo are still not really Leo. We've got Ursa Major, that's Talitha. Aludra is in the constellation Canis Major. Let's see. This constellation is said to represent the dog set by Jupiter to guard Europa, whom he had stolen and conveyed to Crete. According to other accounts, however, it was either Laelaps, the hound of Actaeon, that of Diana's nymph Procris, that given by Aurora to Cephalus, or finally one of the dogs of Orion. So the constellation of Canis Major, um, said to give good qualities, charity, faithful heart, but violent and dangerous passions. There is some danger from or fear of darkness and the night, and liability to dog bites, though the latter characteristic is probably associated more particularly with Sirius. So Sirius is in the constellation Canis Major. So we're closing out the rising. I mean, we've been in the season of Canis, I'm sorry, Sirius, the rising of Sirius, since the middle of August, winding down the heat season. Venus is still in Leo, Western tropical, and Mercury retrograde kind of has to do with the weather. So there's storms, but it's still warm. Anyway, here in the Northeast it is. So that's the constellation of Canis Major, and Canis Major is connected by the Kabbalists with the Hebrew letter Tzadi and the 18th tarot trump, the moon. So the moon card is associated with Sirius and the constellation of Canis Major. I know I hear a lot of tarot card readers associating it with the sign of Cancer because of the moon. But yes, it is. But on a deeper, more esoteric level, it's the constellation of Canis Major and the star Sirius. Is the moon in Leo yet? What time is it? Yeah, I think it is. Yay. Okay. So the moon in Leo will be approaching the star Talitha. Now, this is an interesting star. This star came up during the beginning of Venus retrograde. I started looking at this, and let's see. It was around the time of the Maui fires where we had the new moon, and it was at about 25, 26 degrees of Leo, close to Regulus, but the moon and the sun were conjunct Lilith. Now I've got to rewind. Lilith was involved. I need to go back. I know that this came up and it was in my notes because we were dealing with death and destruction. And I was looking at the moon mansion that was prominent and having to do with the ancestors, the nakshatra. But how did Talitha? Oh, Mercury was there. Wait a second. No, that's further on. Sorry. I gotta rewind. It's like these things, I see these things, they stick in my head. Oh, not ready to talk about that. That might be a Rumble thing. Well, I'll talk about the star, but I'm not ready to talk about what I was seeing with Maui. It was a little dark. Not a little dark. It was very dark. Ugh. Um yeah, I'm not ready to talk about that. Well, anyway, that might be something for the Patreon or the Rumble. But I forget when the Maui thing happened. I know this was coming up for me, looking at this star Talitha in Ursa Major at 3 degrees of Leo. Juno was on this star, and Juno is the asteroid of marriage and the wife. Just wanted to see when this was happening because I want to give you guys a date. Well, this was coming up around the 13th. I think that was after Maui. Juno was opposite Pluto. The death, passing of a spouse. The moon on August 13th. So this is the Venus Sun conjunction, Venus retrograde, Cazimi, Venus star point. And I'm just thinking of I remember what I was thinking at this time, and I'm gonna have to do another video on this. I don't know. It's crazy, and I wasn't sure how to present it. I started talking about it a few weeks ago, and I did say I wanted to do an episode regarding what I was seeing with the stars, but the time kind of got away from me, and I also was feeling like, yeah, I don't want to talk about that. I don't know. A little dark. But so let's just talk about Talitha. I'm sorry. I'm droning on and on here. Still nobody in the chat. It's fine. I've been talking for 45 minutes about nothing. Let's just get into it. Talitha. So the moon is going to go over Talitha in several hours. Talitha and Ursa Major. Now this star, Talitha Borealis, is connected to the story of Tabitha in the Bible, where the story where Jesus raises Jairus' daughter. I think that was Tabitha. I'm thinking Tabitha, maybe. I'd have to go back and check the Bible story, but I know there's a story of Tabitha, if I'm not remembering it correctly. I don't think that it was her name. If that was Jairus' daughter's name, um, because the actual translation, Talitha, means daughter. So Talitha means daughter of the assembly. It's a star in the right front leg of the greater bear, which is Ursa Major. So in Mark 22 and 23, Jairus is one of the rulers of the synagogue, the assembly. It comes to Jesus and says, "My little daughter is at the point of death." So here we have the daughter of the assembly. Jesus goes to the house of the daughter, and in Mark 5:41, he takes her hand and says, "Talitha kumi," which means, "Daughter, arise." So what's being said? The star in the right rear leg of Ursa and the star in the right front leg of Ursa is used as the basis of the story of healing and compassion. Is it written in the stars as, and one must consider, is the power in the stars as well? And that was from I'm reading on Constellation of Words about the star Talitha, but this was from hiddenmeanings.com/hidden.html. So when I look at this, I think of resurrection from the dead. So that's an interesting look at the star. It's also one of the leaps of the gazelle. There are 3 leaps of the gazelle. They include Alula borealis, Alula austral, which is the first leap, and then Tania borealis and Tania australis together, marking the hind foot, are the second leap of the gazelle, but Talitha is the third leap, which is interesting because if you look at the stars in terms of their degrees, they go backwards in the degrees of the zodiac. With the third leap, the actual third leap, which is Talitha, being, you think, it's the third, it's the last one, but it's first in the degrees of the zodiac. So it makes me think of it makes me think of a retrograde or a reversing or, in a sense, resurrecting from the dead, right? Because you're rewinding in degrees of zodiac. It's also a similar concept to the nodes of the moon, how they go backwards. Planets that are in retrograde, you have the forward motion of the planet and then it reverses in degrees of the zodiac. So you're redoing or you're revisiting the events, the concepts, the past, whatever, before it goes forward again. There's a few things in astrology that relate to this particular concept. So that's the moon in the first few degrees of Leo, where it is now. And I have bullshitted for an hour. I should have planned this better. You see, this is why it's difficult. Because I mark my time not by the clock, which is difficult to do when you're doing a show and you say, hey, everybody, I'm going to do a show at noon. That's why I usually say noon o'clock, meaning it's going to be around noon and it might be a little later. I'd rather go by the moon because if the moon is void, of course, like it has been for the whole past hour that I've been chitter chattering, I don't get anything done. It's just how it is. I'm just going to have to put a disclaimer to say, just don't even bother listening to the first hour because it's really the second hour now where I'm going to get into stuff. I'm just getting going. Now you feel me? All right. So let's get to today. Stop bullshitting, just get into it. Let's look at the week. What do we have going on? Good Lord. Good Lord. Today's the 10th, as you know. Moon starts out the day in Cancer, very slow and I don't want to say emotional because that's such a fallback when it comes to Cancer. Let's say we might focus more on our emotions or our home and our family, the past, and we are in a releasing phase because we are winding down the moon. And entering into the dark moon phase. Now, what is this good for? This is good for just kind of debriefing yourself on the last moon cycle before we start the new one, integrating all of the new things we've started, the experiences that we've been through, the progress thus far before we start the next new moon, kind of looking over what has gone before. If you set goals at the new moon, like I do, you're checking things off your list, you're looking to see where things are at in their process, whatever it was that began, whether you began it or it happened to you, whatever your theme for the month was. Just kind of relaxing, doing some self-care. That's always good for Cancer moon. And just kind of coasting. The moon from the last quarter square in the waning phase, things just kind of coast. That's why it's not really the time to start anything new, anything big. You don't want to start it in a big way at this time because there's just not enough energy. There's not enough emotion. We're wrapping up things we've already been working on. Plus, it's a Mercury retrograde. Mercury's going super slow right now. So just don't push it. Don't push yourself. Work on the existing things that you've got. Venus just went direct. We're just starting to get moving when it comes to our relationships and our finances and our values and our self-worth and our new concept of self, basically. So when Mercury goes direct this week and we have the new moon, that's the time to start the stuff. We're starting the stuff in the waxing phase, new moon to full moon, and then coasting on that energy, reaping the benefits of all of your efforts in the waxing phase. But we are in the waning phase. We are releasing. The best thing you can do: clean out your closet, get rid of stuff, go into your computer and delete files, release, release, release. Do your meditations and saying your piece with anyone you've had conflict with from the past. Emotional release. And the moon is pretty high in declination, actually. I don't talk a lot about that, but declination of the moon is also important. It lends to the quality of the moon, the quality of time, the quality of the emotional currents. And when the moon is high in declination, that means that emotions can be over the top. We can be more externalized with our emotions, more demonstrative, more likely to act from an emotional place. Feelings are high, whatever those feelings are, positive or negative. So there is a tendency to be more likely to express or externalize those feelings with the moon in a high declination. What I say high, it's right now it's 25 degrees north of the ecliptic, which is the imaginary line of the path that it's like a general idea of the average spot where planets are going east to west, the path of the planets across the sky, and sometimes the moon seems very high in the sky, sometimes it seems very low. That is its declination. And the sun does the same thing, only it takes longer. And we understand when the sun has its most northerly declination, that is summer in the hemisphere, Western hemisphere, Northern hemisphere, sorry. So we understand that with the sun, but the moon also does it. All of the planets do it. But when you see the moon high north in the sky, it's not because the Earth has been knocked off its axis. I've heard people say that. Why is it so high? It's never that high. Well, it does it all the time. So that's where the moon is when it's northerly declination. It's yang. It's externalized. It's whether we are likely to express and show the emotions rather than keeping them within and kind of dealing with them, um, we're more likely to express how we feel. Or things are more likely to play out outside of us, externalization, that cause us to react emotionally. So today, again, being the 10th, the moon has just entered Leo. We've got Mercury at 9 degrees, 10 degrees of Virgo, slowing down. It's going to station at 8 to 9 degrees later this week. So the moon over the next 10 hours is going to, well, no, actually, that's tomorrow. Shut up. I can't wait till Mercury retrograde is over. I'm just so done with it. So freaking done. Anyway, so today the moon, it opposed earlier. It opposed Pluto. We're just coming off of that. It made a trine to Neptune. Sort of heavy, sort of seething below the surface. That's how the day started out. And it just kind of continues that way for the rest of the day. And not really much happens. The vibe stays the same. We've got the sun making a trine to Jupiter. That's pretty positive. Definitely positive, getting some positive insights and details and solutions and helping us integrate whatever we've been going through with the Mercury retrograde. It's bringing light. It's giving us insight and helping us find answers, basically. And the sun is about to make an inconjunct to Chiron. So there will be some kind of issue regarding health, potentially, the individual, the healing of the selfhood, the ego, the masculine principle, but it comes through a difficult adjustment and a challenge through the sun in Virgo. This could be criticism coming up. There could be some ruffled feathers and hurt feelings, but I feel like a lot of this has to do with the assault on the individual in terms of health, Sun in Virgo, and issues coming to light where the healing can take place. Chiron it is the centaur Chiron, the wounded healer. It's where we are hurt and we work on healing. It's our own particular wound. throughout our lifetime. And then it's also where we can help and mentor others. So Chiron can be a mentor. It also deals with the mind-body connection. And it is in Aries. So we're dealing with Aries themes, the individual, being independent, dealing with masculine issues around men, men's health. It rules the head, so things centered that start in the head or mentally in the head. These things are coming up over the next day or so, leading into the new moon. So we're looking at how we can heal and how we can mentor, and taking criticism personally, potentially, but also being the critic, pointing out what is wrong. Now, what I've noticed too, another thing that came up during Mercury retrograde is, um, especially since Mercury and the Sun conjuncted together at 14 degrees of Virgo on September 6th, we're starting to get the other side of the story. So what I noticed with even the Venus retrograde, it's like a two-parter, because you have the before the conjunction with the Sun and after the conjunction with the Sun, where the planet starts to move away from the Sun and becomes in its morning star phase. It becomes stronger, it becomes more externalized, more yang energy, and really becomes a fighter. And when Mercury has been in retrograde this whole time, there's been tons of criticism and pointing out the flaws, as is the dark side of Virgo, being a critic, very judgmental. But what I've noticed since the conjunction with the Sun is we're getting both sides of the story. So you heard one side during the first part of the retrograde. Now we're getting the other side of the story. So I can reference that with the series that just came out, Convicting a Murderer, about the Stephen Avery case, which gives you the other side of the story of Making a Murderer, which was the Netflix documentary. So we're getting all of the details being filled in during this Mercury retrograde with this series, which is premiering on Twitter, which is X. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to get used to saying that. So we'll see. I thought about it, but then I wanted to say Twitter anyway. I probably won't be able to get it out of my brain until Mercury goes direct. But anyway, so um, seeing the two sides of the coin, getting the other side of the story, and so whatever you were dealing with Mercury retrograde, um, now you're getting the other side of it. Yeah, Dave. Glad you could make it, formerly known as Twitter. Yes, X, formerly known as Twitter. That's okay, Dave. I just finished going over how none of, like, the whole first hour of the show might as well not have even happened. And I knew I wasn't going to get anybody until until about now, because the moon was changing signs. So I just basically gave a live description and live demonstration of how the void of course moon works and how I would have been better off starting my live stream at 1 o'clock, even though I'm trying to be like consistent and say I'm going to do it at 12 noon, you guys, so be ready. It didn't even matter. That's why I would rather go by astrological time than the clock. No, I wasn't muted again. No, Dave, I wasn't muted again. How come it doesn't show up any viewers? My thing says 0 viewers, unless you're just popping in to bust my balls. Thanks, buddy. So Dave is doing a show on AMP. AMP. You can get AMP on the desktop, but if you want to stream on AMP, you got to do it through the app. So AMP, you can play live music, and it's all royalty, not royalty free, but it's royalty music, like it's real, like legit music, because it's done through Amazon, I guess, right? Amazon Music, or um yeah, I think it's Amazon Music. Anyway, so I think if you're a subscriber to Amazon Prime, you can stream any music that's available. So you could be your own DJ. So Dave has a channel, as do I. I haven't been on there in a few months. Um, so go to Beyond the Strange, download the AMP app, or you can listen on a browser on your computer, but you just can't broadcast, but you can listen and you can chat. It's really cool. And you can play any music you want. So go check the Dave out. Plug, plug, plug. Yes. So Dave, yeah, I reminded everyone to go look at that video on that we did on your show, plugging my Elon Musk, and we talked about that. So what else is going on here? We have a new moon coming up, and I'm going to go through the week's aspects. Finally, I hear the sigh of relief. Everyone's like, fucking get to it already. So let's start with tomorrow. What's your day going to look like? It's September 11th. It is a 9-day in numerology. And as you know, nines indicate endings. 9, something is ending tomorrow. And I think it's the bullshit spell that we've been under ever since 9/11, 2001. And we're done with that. We're done with that. Like, that spell is broken, I believe. Anyway, so we have a moon in Leo tomorrow. The moon will conjunct Venus, as well as the asteroid Juno, both at 14 degrees of Leo. And it is, again, the waning moon, and the moon, Venus, and Juno will all square to Jupiter. What is Jupiter? Well, Jupiter is our beliefs, our faith and optimism, what we're expanding on, a higher perspective of things. It is foreign cultures in a global sense, so it also is linked to publishing and news media. Jupiter also represents laws and the legal system, so there are things having to do with court cases and higher education in terms of universities. So it's expanding our understanding, absolutely. It is also retrograde. It just went retrograde last week as Venus went direct. So we are hopefully expanding our understanding of love and money, which is Venus, and Jupiter is in a Venus ruled sign. So anything having to do with further educating yourself when it comes to financial stability, growing your um, wealth, also keeping your wealth. So this also has to do with the BRICS nations because that all happened with the Venus retrograde when it first squared to Jupiter. So, again, foreign cultures, issues around money, laws having to do with money, our understanding of what is of value has been changing over this Venus retrograde. So Venus rules Taurus, Jupiter's in Taurus. That's where our focus has been. We have had to kind of do an overhaul on our value system. Also, this relates to the value of the dollar and what we value, what our physical assets are, the value of our money, as we know, and where that's going. So, seeking sources of value, things to put your money into. What will you invest in? I talked about buying things that you believe will probably go up in price. I just told my mother she needs to see if she can prepay for propane. I know that businesses can prepay for their utilities in terms of gas and gas and oil. It's going up, people. That means transportation costs. That means the cost of goods. And this has all been playing out over the Venus retrograde. So, what we've been hearing about, but have not yet seen the effects, will start to be happening. I expect we'll get some kind of news. Could also have to do with the health issues going on because the sun is the ruler of Leo, where the moon and Venus will be. And the sun is in Virgo, making an awkward aspect to Chiron again. So we're talking about health, issues about health. Mercury retrograde has been bringing us back to the health stuff, hopefully getting back into a healthier routine, finding ways to amp up your immune system. I've been talking about detox. Yeah, anything. Heavy metals, parasites, you name it. So, I wonder if there will be some backlash, more backlash about talking about these things. Possibly. So, what else could we be dealing with? Oh, well, the other thing is that Vino. Subconscious. Vino, yes. Really? Wine. All right, so Juno is conjunct to Venus, not Vino, but maybe it is related. I don't know. Nothing's by accident. News about a female, about a spouse, about a marriage. Um, could be we hear about someone getting married, or divorced, because again, Venus in this phase is doing the opposite of what she did before. uh, in terms of where we're at with relationships. Um, so we could have heard about people getting together during the first part, and now it's people separating, or the first part was the separating, and then this is the getting together part, or however that goes. But Juno and commitment, love and marriage. I know that Juno also plays a role in financial astrology, and that's something that I want to probably take a look at after the Mercury retrograde. But that isn't a thing. So it's not just love and marriage. So whatever, there will be themes somehow around people partnering and a wife, somebody's wife, and their health, the health of the wife. Why? Because Sun, ruler of Leo, is in Virgo, making an inconjunct to Chiron in a 1-6 or a 1-8 relationship. I know that's complicated, but we could hear about the death of a famous woman or the spouse of the wife of someone famous. That's just possibly one of the ways it could play out. And then there's something probably involved with legal issues and money and blah, 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 blah because of Jupiter. All right, that's September 11th. What else? What else am I seeing here? Lilith is at the last few degrees of Leo at 28. That's where Venus stationed. Lilith is the shadow, and Lilith has been wreaking havoc with people's self-esteem, attacking female celebrities. So again, the Lizzo stuff had to do with the Venus retrograde, the beginning of Venus retrograde, where um, I don't know. Feel like people were kind of rushing to her defense, but now more of the stories coming out, and they're like, "Wow, it's not what you thought it was." So Lilith, the dark side of the feminine, that's mean girl stuff right there. So that could be an interesting wrap up to what the Venus retrograde looked like for a lot of people. That's Monday. That's a 9-day. So on Tuesday, something new begins because it's a 1-day. September 12th, Moon is in Leo. Again, we are wrapping things up, people. Moon will be, let's see, it'll square to Uranus, something shocking, something weird and crazy. I hope. The moon makes sextile and a trine to the nodes of the moon, which are it's a positive aspect. It's definitely moving us forward, supporting us when it comes to our individuality versus our relationships. It is probably outing some ego issues with people and showing their dark side because the moon will be conjunct Lilith. Lilith is also called Black Moon Lilith because it is the furthest point of the moon's orbit where the moon is furthest away from Earth. So hard to get in touch with. It's the shadow. It's the not readily visible side of the moon, which is feminine. So it's not just women, but it'll probably be played out largely over the next couple of days with women if you're looking at, the news, possibly celebrity news, possibly leaders, the wife of a leader, public figure, celebrity. regarding their health and some sudden change. Didn't Jill Biden test positive for COVID? I mean, not that that actually means anything because I don't believe in the veracity of those tests, but we were told. What will come up of that this week? Watch the news. So, the moon in Leo again Tuesday. It's a 1 day. The moon and Lilith are making an inconjunct. Did I say Biden? Yes, his wife. Didn't I say? What did I say? Did I say his wife did? Jill Biden tested positive for COVID. All right, whatever. Who cares? Anyway, the moon with Lilith is making what's called a, I did say him. All right. Thank you for correcting me. Yes, it was his wife. So I was talking about the wife of a leader, public figure, celebrity, maybe, will be coming up. It may not be her, could be somebody else. So on Tuesday, the moon forms a finger of God, which is a yod, with Pluto and Neptune. So Pluto and Neptune are making a sextile, and you've got the moon and Lilith at the apex. So I feel like something is coming out on this day that exposes the dark side, the feminine, the something that was given to us or told to us about someone that we were deceived. We're seeing the truth. There's something being exposed. What else is going on? Or, or it could just be that somebody's evil side is flaring up and jealousy. We might see that. Or, maybe our dark side comes up. We have to deal with it. All right, moving along. So from Tuesday on, we are in the dark of the moon, which is just before the new moon. There's not a whole lot of energy left. It's not a good time to push things forward or start new things, especially with Mercury retrograde. We're wrapping up. We're putting things to rest, getting the last of the few things done that we need to get done, existing stuff. Just going about your business. And when the moon is in this phase, it's a good time to pull back. I'm going to say Monday and Tuesday, there could be some cray-cray energy, Renfielding, people who are ready to snap, losing it, acting out, just being jackasses. So stay away from those types. Just keep to yourself. I mean, it's not the time to plan a party. It's just not. Anyway, it's a Monday and a Tuesday, so what the hell? It's kind of a weary start to the week. But at the very least, maybe we're feeling some dissatisfaction or kind of not anxiety, but like irritation about what we see or what we hear outside of us. Probably not happy with it. Maybe don't want to comply. Probably, I feel like the whatever was the projected timetable for the quote agenda when it comes to returning to restrictions and all that blah blah blah. I feel like they want it faster. Like it can't happen fast enough for them. You know, it was like a month ago when they're like, "Oh, by October we're going to be in full pandemic again." Like how do you fucking plan that shit? How? Tell me. Make it make sense. And I feel like it's going to be accelerated. Like, oh, we thought we were going to do it in October, but what we wanted to do in October, we're going to do now. That's how I feel. That's what I feel is coming up. And things are going to close earlier. You know, if the season ended in the middle of October, they're just going to like cancel the rest of it. Fucking bullshit. As if you ask me, it's all fucking bullshit. But panic. Looks like panic because Neptune and Pluto, that's fear. And we're being deceived on some level with Neptune. And so with the moon at the very apex of it, it feels like, psh, you know, like there's some kind of thing trotted out, like, oh my God, this happened. Someone has it, someone died. I don't know. Um, I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it looks like fuckery to me. That's all I can say. Fuckery. Just fuckery. All right, so that's Tuesday. That's the beginning of something. But we're also in this. Okay, this is what I want to say about the dark moon phase. That is where the most negativity comes out. I see this sort of creeping thing. Um, I see an increase in the negative energy. Not like everything is negative though. It's not. But there's this like thing that creeps out of the sewer. And it usually is where somebody's going to pull something. It comes in the dark of the moon. Anyway, we'll see what they got. Fucking bring it. I'm telling you. People have had it. We're not doing it anymore. All right, Wednesday. Yeah, well, by Wednesday, something's happening here because the moon is going to be in Virgo. Again, the focus is on health. We're also talking about, with this Mercury retrograde, there's been a lot of strikes. I could see strikes and walkouts happening with service workers, pockets of these things. Um, you know, anybody who's working in the healthcare industry and service industry are not going to be happy about what's going on. Think about if you're going back to like COVID protocol shit from 2020 and you work in a restaurant. Fuck, no. No one wants to go back to that. Anyway, I don't like it. But the moon is opposing Saturn. Saturn is restriction, Saturn is fear. Saturn in Pisces isn't really sure where the boundaries are, what the restrictions are. Also, um, what has breached the system, because that's Virgo and Pisces, the barrier, the immune system. Um, Saturn. Saturn in Pisces doesn't have that boundary. It's very porous. And so, whatever we're dealing with, it's the Virgo stuff, it's the fear, it's the judgment, it's the projecting onto other people, like you're going to get me sick, blah, blah, blah. Mercury is in retrograde. It's about to go direct. And the moon will conjunct Mercury on Wednesday. So we're definitely getting news. It's like, all right, people, like just pull whatever, pull out all the stops. They're gonna hit it. They're gonna hit us with it, whatever it is. So you'll find out whatever. Like if you're working in a particular sector, you'll probably, you know, if the news comes out and then it's because these businesses are waiting. Like, well, okay, well, what are they going to tell us to do now? And then you've got the non-compliers, and that's what you're going to see with the new moon. But all the focus here on health and Virgo, other Virgo type stuff when it comes to um, restrictions, rules, regulations regarding health. Um, yeah, that's Wednesday. That's the big news. And that's the dark fuckery because that's the moon is in Virgo, right? And it's just approaching the new moon in Virgo. The sun is at 21 degrees, and it's just one more day on Thursday till it reaches 22 on the 14th. This is a big shift. Things are going to change. We've been hearing bits and pieces, but this is when it's going to happen. Wednesday into Thursday. Watch what you hear on Wednesday because the new thing, the new game starts on Thursday. So, um, yes, Wednesday, that is, that's a 2 day, right? It's the second step. The second step. Tomorrow's an ending, right? Monday is the 9 day. Wait, am I right about that? Yeah, because today's an 8. So Monday, something ends. Tuesday, something begins. Wednesday is like the next step. We're going in progression here. 1, 2, 3, or 3, 2, 1. All right, so 13th, that's the 2. Moon, Saturn, opposing. Saturn's also the government. Are we having a government shutdown? Wouldn't that be fun? Uh, Mercury, we're getting news. Mercury's about to go direct. We've been hearing about things with the Mercury retrograde. Now it's going to be put into place, or they're going to try. It's what they want. Like, I mean, they're declaring what they want. They're telling you what their plan is. But I think something different's going to happen. On the 14th, we've got a 3 day, and it is the new moon, 22 degrees of Pluto, above Pluto, 22 degrees of Virgo. And it's making a trine aspect, 120 degrees, to Uranus. Guess what? Uranus is a wild card. Okay. The last new moon we had a month ago was square to Uranus. So it was causing friction, it was causing pushback, it was creating chaos and changes that might have been difficult or uncomfortable. That's the frictional aspect of the square. So the last new moon was square to Uranus. This time it's going to be making a trine. So I would say that the last new moon, the changes had to come a little bit more difficult, or forcing us to make a change in some way that we might not want to. But this trine aspect with this new moon on Thursday is just going to happen because a trine 120 degrees from Taurus to Virgo is just going to flow. It's just going to happen. So the transition will be easy, but there is change. So we're flowing into a change. This is also dealing with the financial system and crypto, digital currency, technology, um, also us creating our own freedom, whether it's how we make our money, how we work, or what we do with our money, and possibly wanting to learn more of the details in Virgo about crypto or how to make money a different way, or, just trying to understand the new financial landscape or whatever, however, this is playing out for you. We can't ignore the Virgo stuff because during the Mercury retrograde, okay, um, Mercury went retrograde on this degree. And that's when the talk of a new pandemic started happening. So, this is the beginning of that phase. Whatever you think about the health situation, this is the beginning of that phase with the new moon. Okay, that's Thursday. And let's see. Did I say that was a 3-day or a 4-day? I can't keep up. Don't make me do math. So, changes definitely, but also opportunities, new ways, new remedies, new ideas, learning more. Uh, it's not all negative, but also Uranus is wanting freedom, and the new moon in Virgo is going to force you to make a plan, be more detailed about what you want for the future. Again, that's Uranus. You've got to make a plan. You've got to have a routine. You've got to have a strategy. You shoot for your best case scenario. And then if you fall somewhat short of that, at least you're better off than what you were at, right? Like if you're starting a diet, don't get discouraged if you don't stick to it strictly because um, you're doing if as long as you're doing better, you are improving. And there is something about Uranus here with this new moon where everything is exponential. So if you are on an upward spiral when it comes to your health, you are very well supported. If you are on a downward spiral and you are looking at the current situation as it relates to health and you are feeling negatively about it, then that will be exponential also. That's the thing about with this Uranus aspect. I feel like it is definitely uh potentials that could go either way. So that sounds like fun, doesn't it? So the new moon on the 14th, big shift, big change because hold on a second. I need to check something. Time out. What the hell? Okay. All right. So that is a 3-day. So a 3-day is possibly, coming together with people, teamwork. That would be very well supported. I also look at 3, 6, and 9 as the days where um, are very important, or if you mark what is happening on that day. So, whatever's happening on the 3-day, as long as you play into into that and feed that in a positive way, whatever you start on that day, you'll see a lot of fruit from on the sixth day, where you'll probably even, you know, come together with other people potentially. Um, and then by the 9 day, you see a lot of growth. So that is a growth cycle 3, 6, 9. So the 3 day, very important. If you can do something towards your goal, like even if it's that's the day that you stick to your diet, and then on the 6th day, you stick to your diet, and then on the 9 day, you see a lot of progress. It just gets easier. If you concentrate your efforts on those days, I guarantee you things will be exponential. That's very much supported still by the new moon aspect to Uranus, but I expect there will be very quick, very sudden, very shocking changes, very flowing. It'll just happen naturally. And is it good? Is it bad? It's both. All right, the 15th. We get to the 15th. It's 4. And this is the day that Mercury goes direct on the 15th. This is Friday. It's a 4 day. What do we got here? The moon is in Virgo for the first part of the day, and then it goes into Libra the second part of the day. When you're thinking about starting new things, I don't usually do it on the exactly on the new moon. I personally will wait until the moon gets into the next sign or is at least 15 to 30 degrees away from the sun. When you see the first crescent, that's what the ancients used to say. When you see the first crescent. So, what do we got that day? We've got Mars is starting to come into play. Mars is beginning to make a sextile with Venus. That's pretty good for relationships. That's good for our yin and yang balance, for attracting as well as pursuing. Um, the moon, like I said, is going into Libra in the later half of the day. And Mercury will be going direct in the later part of the day, also at 8 degrees. Huzzah! But then, as you know, it takes time. It takes time. We've got Venus and Juno moving together. So, again, relationships, partnerships, marriages, wives, and probably something to do with investments. I'm going to have to watch that one. So, Jupiter is square to both these planets from Taurus. Venus ruled Taurus. So, um, in general terms of the way we're viewing partnerships of all kinds, especially marriage, um, with Venus in Leo, um, and the aspect to Jupiter is not a bad one, but it's excess. It can be excess, and it can bring a lot of sudden luck. So somebody can meet somebody. Jupiter in a square. Squares are friction aspects, but it causes us to take action usually. But a square to Venus is not usually bad. If anything, it's too much of a good thing. Maybe. Maybe. And maybe it is really thinking about the importance of partnering with people who share our values or see our value, who bring value into our life. I mean, is that so is that too much to ask? Really? Um, I don't I like to think not. I'd like to think that, a good partner like wants to see you succeed. They want to lift you up. They give you the attention and love in the way that you need it. Like, who doesn't want that? I don't know. That looks juicy to me. I can't say that's a bad thing at all. So, if you have any planets in Leo, in the middle of Leo, the middle of Taurus, the middle of Scorpio, or the middle of Aquarius, that could be something that is happening to you or you're observing it happen to someone else. Sounds hot. I like it. Uh okay, so yeah, September 15th, the moon does early. It opposes Neptune, so it's again, are we seeing things clearly? Are we being deceived? Is it too good to be true? Or is it a dream manifesting like in physical reality? We might feel like it is. Is it? Time will tell. Time will tell. So, what else is going on that day? Mars is well into Libra. Like I said, it's making a sextile, which is nice. I mean, men and women should be getting along with this happening here. Am I missing anything? Lilith is about to move over into Virgo, but not quite yet, where she'll be a little less flaunty and maybe more self-deprecating. And she is still making that in conjunct to Pluto. Somebody desperately wants the fame, desperately wants the attention, and they're fronting to get it. But I think they're going to be found out. I think that's going to be kind of exposed also in this new cycle. Lilith should be having the mask ripped off of her, and then she'll be humbled in Virgo. Let's see how that plays out. All right, going to the 16th, and that would be Saturday. I think I'm right. I always lose track here. It is a 5-day in the numerology on the 16th. And look who showed up. Hi, Elf. Elf is in the chat. Thanks for joining us. Elf says, never point at Uranus. It makes it feel uncomfortable. uh-huh. That's very funny. So the sun will be pointing at Uranus on the new moon. Uranus will be exposed for the asshole that it is. Oh God, please somebody remind me to post all of my Uranus memes. My Uranus memes. So we've got the 16th. I believe that is a Saturday. If I'm wrong, somebody correct me. The moon is in Libra and it hits Mars. Makes a nice conjunction to Mars. I see men and women working together. I see us balancing our masculine and our feminine. Our feminine definitely has learned its value, its true value, and it is partnering with only with people who see what Venus is bringing to the table. And that's it. Like, that's it. The values have changed. Okay, we're going for things of value, things that validate our value and that bring good things into our life. We're also looking at our resources. And if someone's not pulling their weight, that's going to come up. Um, but I feel more or less things are on the same page with Mars and Venus on this day. I like it. I see collaboration. I see creativity. Um, I see good things with this. So, Mars taking action in Libra, it's not a sign that Mars is really that comfortable in. It is diplomatic. So, in terms of war and conflict, there is more diplomacy. There is more focus on the individual and the individual's needs in every situation. Um, when it comes to war, though, there is definitely uh, politically, I feel like I don't know. I feel like there is more diplomacy happening because there is some kind of friction. It is financial also. I don't know if it's overtly financial, but at the bottom of the day, at the end of the day, at the bottom line, it is about the bottom line. So, the tension builds as the moon waxes, and there is an upcoming aspect with moon. I'm sorry, Mars conjunct the South Node, which does look like it could be friction and fighting and war. So perhaps there is some kind of diplomacy happening, but this is also, we're going deeper into pandemia world, and this is the building of the supposed phase. Okay. So the stage is set for what are we in store for? And Mars and Libra, it's gonna kind of want to go along to get along. It'll be a little bit passive aggressive, and I see resistance here. I see building resistance. That's also what that Uranus uh, aspect to the new moon was. It's just going to happen naturally. So if there is any kind of overreach in terms of restrictions or new protocols, I think that the resistance is just going to happen naturally. That's what it feels like to me. But anyway, Mars with the moon, we're more likely to take action. If you're planning on starting something in the new moon phase, the 16th is good. I like it. Go for it. Mars and the moon, our feeling, our actions in line with Venus, our values, our relationships, the way we want to attract, what we attract, how we feel attractive. We're ready to go. So the 16th, starting new things, get on it. Get on it. I do like this day. Very positive for a beginning. Like I said, the 15th, Mercury goes direct. So we're to the 16th. Mercury is direct. You don't have to start it right away, but you could start planning. You could start making a strategy. That's what the 15th and the 16th are like. Okay, you're released from prison. You just got out of jail. Mercury's direct. We got the new moon. What's your next step? 15th and 16th. Planning. Then you can start to make the first step on the 16th with the moon conjunct Mars. But this could also be the saber rattling of war, where somebody makes the first move to be aggressive because Mars is aggression. And just because Mars and Venus are making nice, it could be, you know what? I'm going to make sure that my actions align with my values, and my values are to protect my resources. So that's the 16th. And then the 17th, which is a Sunday, I believe, the moon will hit the south node. There is a release, has to do with relationships, partnering, the past, things that we need to move forward from. As we're moving forward with the waxing moon, in some way, we're going to revisit the past. We're going to have a look at what came before and how we were lied to. Also, our values are different this time. We know our worth. We're not going to get fooled. But there is a second, for about a second, where we get a chance to see it, because the moon will make an uncomfortable aspect to Neptune. It'll show us something we really don't want to see, a pattern, uh, something that is reminiscent of the past, could have to do with obsession, control issues, even, or jealousy. Um, but the sun is about to oppose Neptune. So uh, it's going to be exposed, whatever it is. But you're going to see an inkling on the 17th. And I believe that that is Sunday. So that will wrap up our weekly report. Yeah, that's next Sunday. So I'm going to leave that there. And then the following week, there's going to be some pretty big exposure when it comes to that sun opposing Neptune. So I expect a lot of interesting details about what's been going on in government, how things have been controlled, perhaps people showing their dark side, our fear. Also, that's another thing with Pluto. The sun will oppose Neptune. Neptune is what we can't see, so we sort of project onto it and imagine what it might be, or we're being completely lied to and everything was an illusion. And then the fog burns off, and then we see what it is. We see it for what it is right now. And the moon, I'm sorry, the moon at the south node is going to make a square to Pluto. Pluto's making a trine to the sun. The sun is illuminating things. This could also be financial because Venus is the ruler of the sun. This is also things in regard to, again, health, and um, Pluto is also quite a bit of fear. And Lilith is aspecting Pluto, how, people control things out of fear and ego and try to create a smoke screen, but the sun is going to be burning through the smoke screen. So while on the one hand, this whole week we have this build up to, oh, damn, like, what, we going back to that again? But uh no, I don't know. I don't know. I don't really see it. But it could be, you know, soft control, subtle. Let's see what it I don't know what it's going to look like this time. I just know that there's so many more people that are just not going to fucking eat the shit anymore. We're just not. But let's see what happens by next Sunday because, you got a whole week of people going to work and saying, "Are you fucking kidding me?" No, because we know so much more now and we're not afraid and we have facts. And Mercury retrograde has been bringing out so much. Like all the details are out there right now. Like we know, I don't know. We'll see what they're going to pull. That's all I can say. Let's just see what they got in store and get ready with your middle finger. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, it'll be an interesting week. And then, yeah, well, that's probably Sunday where people are like just fucking done with it, maybe, or gaining their power back, or seeing through the illusion. And then you go into work the next week and people have quit. People are on strike. People are not going to follow the protocols. And then other people are. And then there's all this projection and judgment. And, I know Venus and Mars are working together, but that doesn't mean that there won't be backlash and conflict with people. I think we're going to see the two sides of those who are going to go along with it and those who are just not. And I don't know, like, can businesses even afford to still no, it's not gonna happen. I just don't see it. I don't fucking see it, and I don't see it happening for another couple of years, like it lasting that long. I, but this is like the final battle. This is the final countdown. Hey, look who's here, Darren. Does somebody want to call in? I don't know if my thing works where I'll be able to hear if it'll work on the live stream. I have no idea. It probably isn't. So, Darren, what are you saying here? Tuna late, sorry. Tuning in, Siri. Are you doing like voice to skull? I mean voice to text. Uh, and what about those who haven't gone along with it? Yeah, we never went along with it. I got my peeps right here. Like, I never really had to deal with any kind of backlash from people who went the other way because there wasn't that many of them in my life. I I just didn't deal with people that, at that point in my life, I wasn't dealing with anyone who wasn't pretty much hip to what I was seeing. Um, Maybe I had one or two people that, for other reasons, and or that friendship didn't include talking about one's viewpoint where that was concerned. And like I might have actually lied and been like, "Oh, they were like, "Oh yeah, you got the blah blah blah." I'm like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, whatever." Where's your Where's your card? Going into a restaurant in Hollywood trying to like eat, you know, just a basic thing. I went to one, they're like, "Where's your card?" I'm like, "Yeah, oh, I don't know, I left it home. Like, I don't usually go out." And then going to a restaurant right next door, and they're like, "Welcome, come in." Didn't care that we weren't wearing the El Mascarinos. It's just so crazy. It's like living in a parallel universe. I just imagine that's how it's going to be this time. There is definitely when they talk about the splitting of timelines, And some people living on one timeline and other people living on another. I never bought into the concept of, let's say, ascension in terms of timelines where, like, we're just gonna we're gonna ascend and we're going to um, not be in this physical vibration anymore, or we're going to be living on this timeline and other people will be living. But that is what's happening. We are living in two different realities. Anyway, say goodbye to Dave and Pat. It's just me and you now, Darren. What's up? But I'm glad that Pat got to pop in, say hello, and Dave. Hello to my friends. And I guess it's me and you, Darren. It says there's two viewers. I don't know who the mystery person is. But anyway, living in two separate realities, absolutely. Uh, I think that's just the way of the world now. And you'll see now people going off and cultivating that reality, whatever it is. And that's what I was talking about with the upward spiral versus a downward spiral, the growth versus the entropy. And we will now see, starting with this new moon this week, the literal results of what is the what is the effect of living on one particular timeline versus another, which I believe the one timeline uh, represents living in harmony with natural law, living on a vibration of love and harmony, and being in alignment with your true self, I guess you could say, versus the opposite, the inversion. So where there is inversion, you will not see growth, prosperity, health, abundance. I think we're going to see the very stark contrast starting with the new moon. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay. Pat is still listening. He's just working, so he's not chatting. That's cool. I'm glad you're still here. You don't have to chat, but I'm happy that you said hello. And Darren, yes, I always listen to Cliff High, and everyone should check out Cliff High. Cliff, I think there's a YouTube channel, but that's his recordings. But I don't believe it's his channel, but I'm not sure. But the dates don't line up. I know that for sure because I was listening for a while and then I'm looking at the comments because I'm like, what is he talking about? This doesn't sound right in timing and dates. And the only place that you can find Cliff High's stuff, the accurate and true representation of Cliff, is his Substack. Is it Half Past Human? I'm not sure, but Cliff High Explorers is on Telegram. I'm not sure because the Cliff High Explorers, actually that can't be him because that posts the YouTube videos. But it's still interesting information. Just it's not like up to date exactly as it's happening. But if you go to his Twitter, that's where you can find, he posts all kinds of awesome stuff. But yes, and okay, with that said, Cliff High, founder of the WebBot project, which was analyzing speech data, and he found that that was predicting events because he would see a rise in certain type of words being used, certain type of talk was predictive linguistics, he called it. So, yeah, he's been talking about the weirdo woo stuff happening, like beginning to happen. And there was an event that he mentioned as a marker of that, and I forget what that was, but there's a few things that I have seen happen over the last couple of weeks that it's like, oh, okay, we are we're living in a different world now. When Obama's gay lover is interviewed by Tucker Carlson, and we known about him for ages, right? We knew about this stuff. Uh, but now, like, he's got a platform and he's out there and he's saying the stuff that we already knew. Ooh, okay. I was looking at this and I think I'm going to do a video on Obama. This deserves a separate video. Here's what I think is happening. With this interview coming out, the timing of it is interesting because I believe that it is signaling the demise of Obama's reign, the diminishing of his power, and also what I think they're positioning for is Michelle as, or Big Mike, if you prefer, um, taking him, pushing him aside and putting Michelle Obama in a position because that's what they want to do. It's bye bye Biden. It's Jill's got COVID. Psh, great. I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, could she just give it to him and get it over with? And so, I mean, we've been seeing for so long now, like Biden is done. It's like, just like shoot the horse and put it out of its misery by now. Like, why are we still dragging this shit out? Um, I think it's because they haven't really decided who can, uh, or how they're going to reposition because Camel Toe is definitely, no one wants her. And that's what it was. She came out and she said she's ready to step in for him. I'll bet you are, honey. I'll bet you are. But you know what? I don't know. Maybe they put her forward as a figurehead. I can't see it. And then move Michelle in as the Veep. I don't know how this is going to play out. But uh I think Michelle and Obama are gonna, I think they're gonna go splits. I think they're gonna call it Splitsville. What did I say about divorce and, a female and a marriage? I think Obama and Big Mike are done because they, she has to distance herself from him. She has to call him out and denounce him in order to keep her viability for a presidential bid because that's where we know like that's part of the plan, right? So they gotta take Obama down. His chef died, right? So we had the chef die. We had the crack smoking lover. Um, that whole story came out, and so, and then the paparazzi shows Michelle uh running off to see her friends of hers, and Obamas. I think it was a gay couple. Who cares? But whatever. Going off, it just the tone of it was like, there's trouble in paradise, and she's running off to the shelter of her friends, and it just looked like a breakup's coming. So, anyway, she would have to distance herself from him, obviously, because he looks like shit now. And in order to save that possibility for her to run for president, because that they're positioning that, I think the Obamas are going to get divorced. I do. Wah wah. Very sad. Not really. Ah, so this week I am going to work on a video analyzing Obama's chart the same way I did with Elon Musk, but uh, there's just so much happening with his chart that I could see. It's like the Mercury retrograde and the Venus retrograde have been setting this whole thing up with him. So he go bye bye. They got to take him down. And I mean, it's out there, like it's been said. It's like no big secret that a lot of people feel that Obama has been running the Biden presidency from behind the scenes. He even snubbed Biden. He don't like Biden because he wants to be president again, and he thinks he's the shit. So, yeah, Obama's not a nice guy. And also, one of the things that I was seeing with the asteroids, it came back to me about the asteroid Apophis and the connection with Obama. And then I went back and researched. I had to look at where I came about that connection was through the work of Freeman Fly, who put up the pictures of Obama and Akhenaten and put it out there that possibly Obama is a clone of Akhenaten. And then he showed Michelle's face and the kid's face, and it was all like the Queen T, who was married to Akhenaten, same face as Michelle, and then the children of Akhenaten and Queen T, same faces. So this got me into the cloning, the DNA, the Egyptian connection, and looking at the asteroid Apophis, who was the adversary of Akhenaten. Okay, not of Akhenaten, but in the Egyptian cosmology, that was their Satan, right? So you had Ra, the sun god, you had Aten. Um, anyway, I'm going to make a video on that because I see the chart as being very significant. Obama's chart, the transits that are happening right now, and where the asteroids are. So stay tuned. There's going to be fun things happening. That's my project. I'll work on that this week. I don't know if I want to put it out this week, but I'll work on it because that's part of my plan with my Hollywood stars. And there's some juicy stuff there with Obama. I think it's just crazy. I didn't even look at where the asteroid DNA is in his chart. So, what else is going on? Yeah, there's a few true crime cases that I'm following. I'll be doing some videos on those. Those are my upcoming projects for when Mercury goes direct, and after the new moon, I will be starting to work on those things. So, I've got lots of fun stuff coming up for you guys. And as always, you know where to find me. Every Sunday, I'll be here I may pop up during the week. I might be switching up some of my formats after the retrograde, and again, after the new moon. I'll be ready. So find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Rumble. And I have a Patreon. And I have a gilded chat room. I will leave the link in the description box if you want to join the gilded group. There's not really much going on in there now, but when I post special things, they'll definitely be in there. And of course, you can chat, you can meet people, you can ask astrology questions. I'll answer basic questions about astrology and charts. So, if you're interested in that, and what else? Stay tuned. I'm going to get my technology shit all ironed out this week, I promise, and we will be doing calls next week. So you can mark that number. If you're interested in a reading, you can email me at astrolunachick@gmail.com, or you can text me or call me and leave a voicemail at 914-222-1231. And as always, thank you guys for joining me. Thank you for those who stayed till the bitter end. You guys are rad or dash. Okay, dudes, I'll see you soon. I'll see you on the internets. Ciao for now.